Stories about selflessness, magnanimity, and generosity. Stories were narrated from the righteous predecessors that show the ultimate altruism, benevolence, and generosity they reached, including, it is said that because of the slander of a man named Ghulam Khalil against the Sufis, the Caliph ordered that their heads be cut off. As for Junaid al-Baghdadi, he was protected by his esteemed position as a jurist. He used to give fatwas according to the madhab of Abu Thawr. As for Shaham, Raqam, al-Nuri and others, they were arrested. When a leather mat was spread out before them, over which they were to be beheaded, al-Nuri stepped forward. The swordsman asked him, "Do you know what you are in a hurry for?" When he answered in the affirmative, the executioner again asked, "What made you hurry?" Al-Nuri replied, "I would rather prefer that my companions live at least a little longer." Perplexed, the executioner then went and handed the whole matter over to the Caliph. And the Caliph sent those arrested to the judge, Qadi, to examine their case. The judge asked Abu Hussein al-Nuri several questions about fiqh, to which he gave reliable answers. Then al-Nuri continued, "And further, Almighty Allah has servants who, when they stand for the sake of God, and when they speak for the sake of Him," and uttered words that caused the judge to weep. The judge then told the Caliph, "If these people are indeed heretics, then there is probably not a single faithful Muslim on the face of the earth." It is said that Ali ibn Fudail used to buy all his goods from the merchants in his locality. He was told, "If you went to the main market, you could have bought more cheaply." In response, he said, "These people came to us hoping to benefit from us." Abul Hasan al-Bushanji, while in the latrine, called his pupil and said to him, "Take this shirt from me and give it to so-and-so." When they asked him, "Couldn't you have waited until you left the latrine?" he answered, "I was not sure that my nafs would not later change this decision." Qais ibn Sa'd ibn Ubadah was asked, "Have you seen anyone more generous than yourself?" He replied, "Yes, in the desert we once stopped at the dwelling of a certain woman. Then her husband arrived. She told him that guests had come. The husband brought a camel and slaughtered it and said that it was for us. The next day, he brought another camel, slaughtered it and told us, 'This is for you.' We objected, 'But we have only eaten some of the meat of the camel you slaughtered for us yesterday.' He then said, 'I do not treat my guest with yesterday's food.' We stayed with him for 2 or 3 more days, for it was raining, and every day he repeated the same thing. When we were ready to leave, we left 100 dinars at his house and said to his wife, 'Apologize to him for us,' and left his house. At the head of the midday sun, we heard the cry of a man shouting after us, 'Stop, O ignoble horseman! You want to pay me for hospitality?' Then he caught up with us and insisted, 'You absolutely must take this money back.' They say that Abdullah ibn Ja'far, when traveling to his farm in the country, stopped to rest near a grove of date palms belonging to certain people. A black servant was working in the grove. They brought him food, and at that time a dog jumped the fence and approached the servant. He threw it a round of bread, which it ate up. Then he threw it a second and a third round. The dog ate these up too. Abdullah ibn Ja'far looked at the man and asked, 'O servant, how much food you receive every day?' He replied, 'Just what you have seen. That is 3 loaves of bread.' Abdullah asked, 'And why did you favor this dog over yourself?' And the servant replied, 'There are no dogs living hereabouts. This dog has come hungry from far away, and I did not want to deny it.' Abdullah asked, 'How will you manage today?' He replied, "Today I will go hungry." Then Abdullah ibn Ja'far said, "And people reproach me for my over-generosity. However, this man is more generous than me." Abdullah ibn Ja'far bought the servant, this garden, and everything therein, and then freed the servant and gave him the garden. Mutarif ibn Sheikh said, "Whenever one of you wants me to fulfill any of your needs, may he pass a note on to me. Truly, I do not like to see the humiliation of need on anyone's face." It is said that someone turned to Hassan ibn Ali ibn Abu Talib for some charity. Hassan gave him 50,000 dirhams and 500 dinars and told him to fetch a porter to carry this money. And when he arrived with the porter, Hassan gave him his kaftan and added, "The porter's wages are also on me." When Imam al-Shafi'i was near death, he said, "Tell such and such a person to wash my body." However, the man happened to be away at the time. When he returned from the journey, the words of the Imam were conveyed to him. He asked that the ledger of Imam Shafi'i be brought. In it was written the Imam's debt in the amount of 70,000 dirhams. The man paid off Imam al-Shafi'i's debt and said, "This is my washing of him." The righteous As-Sari al-Sakati left his house on a festival day and met a person of high position. As-Sari greeted him with curiosity. He was told, "This is a very important person." He responded, "Yes, I recognized him, but it is transmitted from the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, that when two Muslims meet, 100 mercies are divided between them. 90 of them are intended for the one who is more affable, and I wanted him to receive the most." One of the righteous said, "One very cold day I went to Bishr ibn al-Harith and found him almost disrobed, trembling from the cold. I said to him, 'O Abu Nasr, on such days people dress more warmly, but you, on the contrary, are unclothed.' He replied, 'I have remembered the poor and in what a difficult situation they were. I do not have anything to comfort them with. Therefore, I wanted to join in enduring the cold with them.'" Chapter 12, Spiritual Chivalry and Manliness, the essence of magnanimity and courage. Know that even if expressions differ in explaining the reality of both futuwa, magnanimity, and muruwa, manliness, the meaning around which they revolve is the same, which is sincerity of the tongue, tolerance of the mistakes of brothers, the giving of kindness to the people, and not harming the neighbors. Abu al-Hasan al-Bushanji was asked about chivalry, to which he replied, "It is the renunciation of using that which is not permitted, as you have angels with you who record all your deeds," i.e., continually. Al-Antaq said, "Manliness is performing acts of obedience, avoiding prohibitions, and rejecting the enjoyment of bodily passions." One of the righteous said, "The basis of magnanimity is the constant striving of a servant to fulfill the needs of other people." Junaid was asked about magnanimity and said, "It is that you do not repulse the poor and do not oppose the wealthy. And truthfulness is the friend of magnanimity and freedom." Courage and manliness from the requirements of the tariqah. O Muslims, the followers of tariqah were in agreement that humaneness, courage, and chivalry are necessary requirements on the path of knowledge of Almighty Allah. I prefer, like a mountain tour, to reject what is in people's hands and turn away. I do not want to be like a goat accepting largesse from people in the form of worldly goods, which Almighty Allah do not possess the weight of a mosquito's wing, even if all worldly riches were to be united together. When Imam al-Khawwas was asked what is the reason that prevents murids from accepting kindness from people? He replied, because of the fear of indebtedness arising out of their magnanimity and good nature, which induces them to compensate people for their kindness, fulfillment of their due rights, and their attention to them. The Prophet ﷺ alerted his companions to the importance of observing manliness and cautioned them against committing that which could violate or defile it. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, "Refrain from sitting on the roads, but if you do, then accord the road its due." They asked, "And what is due to the road, O Messenger of Allah?" He replied, "Lowering the gaze, refraining from harm, responding to greetings, enjoining good and forbidding evil." When Almighty Allah praised the people of the cave, Ashab al-Kahf, He praised them for being young and from their youth, their courage that drew them to monotheism, which is the source of perfection. The Almighty said, meaning, "We narrate to you their story with truth. They were young men who believed in their Lord, and we increased them in guidance." Surah Al-Kahf, ayah number 13. The men of the cave were called chivalrous young men because they believed in their Lord at first behest. They believed without delay when the reasons for their connection with Almighty came to them. And it is said that they were young because they rose towards God and did not settle until they reached God. And it is said that the origin of courage is faith, and so God named the companions of the cave young men. And He said, meaning, they were young men who believed in their Lord. Surah Al-Kahf, ayah number 13.